Hello guys, Chris here and welcome to a solo Q&A podcast today. I'm going to try and do these once every month. Now that we're doing the show 2 episodes a week, I'm going to try to do this once a month. So every 8 episodes, you've got a solo one where I'm answering all of your questions. I put a poll up on my Instagram story to ask you guys to ask me some questions and I'm going to answer them right here today. So I've just got the list of them all on my phone here. I'm going to go through and just pick out whichever one calls my attention straight away, and then we can hopefully come up with some cool ideologies and answer some of your burning desires on this Q&A today. So just before we get into this episode though, I just want to say one quick thing. We have thousands and thousands of you guys, tens of thousands listening to this show every single month, and not all of you guys leave a review on the audio platform. So if you're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and you're really enjoying the show, leaving a 5-star review on the episode on Spotify or on the show overall goes a long way. It helps us get bigger guests on the show. It helps us establish the show more and be more credible. And that's my one little favor for this episode. If you guys enjoy this show, please leave us a 5-star review on Spotify because it really does help the show grow and it helps us keep getting awesome people on the show so we can keep on leveling up the show. So let's go into the very first question. This one's from Julia_Mora_. Have you ever struggled with figuring out what you want in life? How did you navigate that? I probably still struggle with that to this day, because it's not a matter of being so crystal clear on everything that you want. You discover new things in your life and then you realize that there's new things that you want and there's things that you once wanted that you don't want anymore. So I think you always go through these mini periods of your life where you are a little bit uncertain with what you truly want in your life. But if we go back in time to when I didn't even have a clue at all, that was a very hard time for me. And I think it's a lack of identity, lack of path and confusion on what path is right for you is one of the most challenging things you can possibly go for, because you struggle with your self-worth, you struggle with the things to strive towards. Getting out of bed is a whole lot harder, and I've definitely struggled with that. Something that I will say though is finding this thing that you love isn't just going to land on your lap. You actually need to start trialing new things. And what you'll do is you'll start learning more about yourself, and more specifically, the things that you don't like. Because when you can eliminate things out of the equation, then there's less to choose from, and you start sharpening the sword of what you want and what you don't want. So I would be looking at things and trialing them and then realizing quickly whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, move on. The thing that I would preface here though is realizing that when you're starting something new, you are never going to be good at it from the start. Yeah, you might have a little bit of talent, but for the most part, you go through the competency scales. So you first think of starting something and you're unconscious of how incompetent you are at the thing. So you become unconscious. You don't know how bad you are at something. Then what happens is you dive in and you start doing the thing. And then when you do that, you are conscious of how incompetent you are. You know how bad you are at the thing. This is where most people quit, because they go, fuck, I am so bad at this thing. I'm not enjoying this thing. And the thought of getting better is very daunting because it's going to require a lot of work. I don't want to do it. And they drop off. But the important part is to progress past that point of conscious incompetence, because you want to get to the point where you are now consciously competent. So you're competent, but you still have to be very conscious of what you're doing. And this is a good place to be in, because it means that you've progressed up the scale and you're actually getting pretty good at something. And then the next step to that is you go to unconscious competence. It means you can do something with your eyes shut. And when you can do something with your eyes shut, that's when you'll really start to gain towards that mastery level, and you'll actually start to get results and really find more about what you want and what you don't want. But the answer to not knowing what you want is not doing nothing. It's trialing a lot of things, throwing a bunch of shit at the wall and seeing what stuck. So for me, I have struggled with that. You know, when I started the socials, I literally quit my job and had no idea what the fuck I was going to do. And I was building this software company, but it was failing. We were putting all of our money into it. But to be honest, I had no idea what I was going to do. And I just started posting content, and I was doing multiple posts every single day, and I just committed to it. And then you start to get some results from trialing a few things. And then that's when you start to realize, oh, there's actually opportunity here. Oh, I'm actually good at this thing. Oh, I'm not very good at this thing. And then you start to have more of an idea on your path. So yeah, whatever it is, dive into it and figure out if you like it or not. That would be my little bit of advice. Next question is from Kale_Wrightson. If you could tell young men collectively one thing, what would it be? I am very passionate about this topic because I think most of the problems in the world right now come down to weak men and creating weak men. Men aren't being men anymore. It is societally okay, and the culture supports men being weak. And so men are growing up and not striving towards building all of the characteristics that are actually attractive in a man. So there's a lot more weak men in this world. And so what that results in is women don't feel like they can find a strong man and a masculine man that they're looking for. So they don't have trust in men, and they can't find a man that they like. So what happens is then they start onboarding all of these masculine traits that the man in their life that they can't find should be doing. And so they onboard all of the masculine traits, and they go against their biology in a sense so that they can be, safe, secure on their own accord, because there's not enough men doing that for the women. And deep down, you see all the time, women go on this cycle. They aren't treated well by men. So then what they do is they start onboarding a lot of masculine things. And there's this I don't need no man culture that will make women start businesses and go in this hustle culture and grind and grind and grind. And it kind of leads them down a path that deep down they truly don't want. And then they can get to their 30s or 40s and go, fuck, I still don't have a man and I really want one. And it takes a strong man to come into that woman's life for her to be able to go, fuck, I actually do want to be maternal. I do want to have kids. I do want to build a family. I do want to lean into my feminine. And if there was more strong men coming up and building and growing as strong men, if there was more of them, then there probably would be a lot more loving relationships. There'll be a lot stronger families. There would be nowhere near as much of a divide. People would have more passion and they'd feel more alive in their life. So anyway, I've gone on a massive tangent here because the question was, if you could tell young men collectively one thing, what would it be? What I would say is, if you are not getting presented enough challenge, self-inflict some challenge, because the pain, challenge, and hardship is how you grow the character that is actually attractive and will make a woman feel safe, secure, loved, and ultimately you'll be able to attract your dream partner. You'll be able to have a master family, and you'll be able to keep the name going. And all of the characteristics that you build in the journey of business and overcoming challenge are the things that allow that. And so for these young men, I would be challenging everything that they're getting presented. The things the teachers are telling them, the things that people older than them, the news is telling them, all of the education systems and the way they're supporting whatever they might be supporting. I'll just be challenging it, and I'd be stripping it back to, what are the characteristics that I'm earning from this, and do these characteristics serve me as a male? And I would be just constantly quizzing and challenging the norm, because if you don't, unfortunately, the system creates a lot of weak men, and it's going to be a slippery slope for the whole world if there's more and more weak men. We need stronger men in our life. The women need stronger men in their life. And unfortunately, there is a lack of that in our life at the moment. It's never been easier for a man to stand out because there are so many weak men. So if you're not going through enough challenge, self-inflict the challenge as a man. That's what I did. My upbringing was pretty smooth sailing. And if I just kept being smooth sailing and kept being mediocre, I wouldn't even be where I am today. And all of the pain that I went through was self-inflicted. And, you know, people can look at that and go, you're crazy. Why are you self-inflicting pain? But the answer to growth is pain. And if you're not getting given the pain, then you need to get it somehow to grow. So challenge yourself, throw yourself in the deep end, and you'll grow, and you'll be an attractive, strong man that will be able to attract your dream partner, be able to build a loving romantic relationship, a loving family powerhouse, and your name will stand the test of time. And yeah, I just think it's what we need in the world. We need more strong men. Let's go to the next question. This one is from Deshulenka. Chris Williamson talks about the lonely chapter. Have you experienced it, and how do you experience it? Yes, the reason the lonely chapter performed so well for Chris is because it's a cost of doing business. It's a cost of trying to do something extraordinary. And that's why everyone relates to it, because it's like you can't escape it. You have to go through it. And so I am still in a version of my lonely chapter, and I often wonder whether it will ever go away. I mean, I think the more you do things for you, the more unique you're going to become. And when you're more unique, you struggle to relate to people, which means you lack connection, which ultimately results in an increased level of loneliness. So if that's the pattern, the more I do things for me, potentially loneliness is a cost to that. What I do think, though, is you don't need a lot of people. Loneliness isn't the absence of connection. Loneliness isn't the absence of people. It's the absence of connection. So you just need a small amount of people that you can connect with and relate with to remove that loneliness in your life. I look at my best friend, Sam, and he's my best friend by tenfold. And like, honestly, I'm so grateful to have him, because I don't know what life would be like without him. I would have no one to relate to. But ultimately, I think building a handful of those, just some close friends and family that you can relate to, is all I need. I don't need a big circle. I just think quality over quantity is important for me. And definitely the lonely chapters is just a cost. So I think it's not about inflating it. It's about just owning it, going, yep, this is part of it. Like, again, tying into this hardship thing, it's like that is the hardest thing, being lonely, not feeling like you can relate or connect to anyone. But fucking good, because if you're lonely and you're struggling to connect, it means you're doing stuff for you and you're being more unique. And if you be more unique, ultimately the best version of you is going to come from that. And so if you're doing something that is hard, like being lonely, you're going to achieve something greater. Because if loneliness wasn't a hard thing, everyone would endure on the journey and everyone would achieve the thing, and then it wouldn't even be valuable. So if you're feeling like you're in a lonely chapter, it means that you're on the right path. Reprogramming your mind as to what's a bad thing and knowing that this is actually a good thing. I'm feeling lonely, good. It means I'm doing something right. It can allow you to push through that hard time easier and know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Like, there's going to be light. There's going to be connection. There's going to be more understanding of yourself. There's going to be more understanding of everything in your life the more you go through life. And so, yeah, don't sit down in the tunnel and dwell on it. Realize it's a cost to doing it, and you chose to go through this. That's important too. And then keep moving forward. Let's go to the next question. I'm also drinking OxyStrade right now because best energy drink. So good. I did my breath work before the podcast. I was dreading it. I was going to do 5 minutes. I did my 10 minutes. I laid down on the floor of the studio and did 10 minutes of breath work. It was very good. And now I'm drinking some energy drink, so I'm feeling good. But let's go to the next question. Next question is from Letitia McClelland. Do you struggle with anxiety? If so, what are your go-to mentalities to help you through it? I feel anxious. I don't have anxiety. And I think that's a very important distinction. I have moments where I feel depressed, but I'm not depressed. I feel anxious all the fucking time, but I'm not filled and riddled with anxiety. Because if you identify as a depressed person, as an anxious person, the subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's fake. And I don't believe, and this might be a naive approach, but this is my approach. I do not believe in anxiety and depression. And because I don't believe in it and I do not identify as someone that has it, I don't have it all the time. It's like you voluntarily saying that you're a depressed person is basically saying you want to be depressed. Because as I said, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's fake. And so even if I feel anxious all the time, which guess what? I do. I'm onboarding a lot of things. I'm stressed. There's things that don't go to plan. There's things that do go to plan. There's things I love and there's things I certainly don't love. I stay awake at night sometimes because my mind is racing, filled with anxious thoughts. I wake up sometimes and I don't want to get out of bed because I'm riddled with anxiety thoughts, provoking thoughts that can just consume my mind all the time. But if someone asks me, are you an anxious person? I say no. I feel anxious at times, but I'm not an anxious person. Very important. So the way to deal with it, firstly, is realize your language and your patterns. How are you defining yourself? And that's the first thing. Like, we need to reprogram the stories that we're telling about ourselves, because if you're trying to debunk something, you can't be identifying as that thing because the subconscious will always win. You can't just change the behavior and expect your life to change if you're still identifying as that thing. That's the first thing. The second thing is, a big thing that I get anxious about is being overwhelmed. And when I get overwhelmed is when I have a lot of things happening in my life. And a lot of the time, it's when I don't know when and what and how I'm doing everything. So I like to plan, and planning, whether that's my finances, I need to budget, cash flow, forecast everything out so that I know everything's all good and there's the systems in place. Whether that's the calendar, I need a time block and prioritize everything I'm doing and then put it in the calendar. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm not thinking about what I need to do. I just look at my calendar and I do it. Those things really help. Training is a game changer. Like going on a 15-minute run if you're feeling anxious, getting on the floor and doing a 10-minute Wim Hof guided breath work, going in the ice bath first thing in the morning. All of these things are game changers for anxious thoughts. Now, another thing I would challenge is if you're feeling extremely anxious all the time and you're feeling extremely depressed all the time, I would do an assessment of your life. Are you fit and healthy? When you look in the mirror, are you proud of how you look? Firstly, from a health standpoint, like, am I overweight, or do I, is my skin no good because my diet's not very good? Am I training regularly? Am I looking after my body? Check in on that. Like, as I said, the food. What are you eating? What are the stuff you're eating? Do you have something that you're striving towards? That's a big one. Are you being nice and caring to the people around you? Do you shit talk? Do you talk shit to people behind their back? Do an assessment of your whole life, and what you'll find is if you're feeling very anxious or feeling very depressed on a regular basis, it means that one of those boxes is like not being ticked or being ticked. Like you're doing something that's very important in your life negatively, and that is resulting in it playing on your mind, or it's making you feel worse. So you feel anxious or you feel depressed. And so I would say to you to really do an assessment of your life and all of the key pillars that are so important for a human, and make sure that you're doing all of those first before resorting to absolutely anything else. Next question is from Drew Korf. What's the most difficult question you've been asked recently? How did you answer? Would have been from my mentor. I'm working one-on-one with Jim Fortin. He said, what is the benefit of you being a plate spinner? And I was like, what's that? A plate spinner. And basically what he means is I am onboarding so many different things in my life, and it's like I'm spinning all of these plates, theoretical plates in my life, and it's making my life be busy and chaos. And I don't want to be busy and chaos. I want to be crystal clear, focused and clear. And he's like, what's the benefit of you being a plate spinner? Because if your pattern is you're ending up in the same place, or you're doing a certain thing over and over again, whether you think it or not, there is a benefit to you doing that, hence why you end up in the exact same spot. And my answer to that, my realization is that when I am seen as busy and flat stick all the time, I'm externally viewed as successful and doing really well. So when my parents call me and they say, how's your day been? I'll be like, oh, it's been flat out. Really good though. Working on this, and this. I'm seeking external validation. And when I am a plate spinner and I'm being really busy, I am getting that. But the irony of that is when you become a plate spinner and you're doing so many things, you never do something at a good standard. So it basically results in you getting less progress in the long term, but the reason you're doing it is to be validated that you're doing well. And the irony of that is if you don't be a plate spinner and you slow down so you can speed up. And when I say slow down, I don't mean slow down in the amount of hours that you're working. Slow down the noise and all the shit that's going on in your mind. When you slow down, you're actually able to speed up, and you're ultimately going to get way more success and achieve way more things in your life. And then a byproduct of achieving all of those things by not being a plate spinner is you're going to get externally validated because you're actually doing really well in your life. And so the realization is that I am being a world-class plate spinner. I am just spinning all these things. So then when I'm seen or viewed, I'm doing all these amazing things and I am crushing it. But the reality is that doesn't actually mean I'm crushing it. Let's get laser focused and hone in on the things that actually move the needle, and then a byproduct of that success is I'll get all of the external validation that I want and need. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Let's go to the next one. Next one is scratch away try. Do you feel guilty when resting? If so, how do you manage that feeling? Abso-fucking-lutely. I do. And it's very similar to the last question I just answered. I do feel guilty when I'm resting, but only if I haven't diarized the things I'm trying to achieve and I set out and do it. If I am being a plate spinner and I don't finish all the stuff, which I'm not going to be able to finish all the stuff because I'm trying to do too much shit, then I get to the end where I'm trying to have a sauna or I'm trying to chill out or go for a walk and I feel guilty for not doing the work that's on my to-do list or my not even to-do list because I haven't even made one. So what helps me enjoy my rest time is planning things out and having a clear idea on what I'm actually doing throughout my days. And so then when I can do that, I can actually I can actually feel a sense of accomplishment at the end of the day. I can go, yes, I actually did this, and this. And so when I'm clear on my goals and I know what I need to do, and every day I wake up and I get closer towards those goals and I tick off the to-dos, I feel deserving of resting. Another realization is like, I'm the brand, and if I'm not resting, then like, how do I expect anyone to gravitate towards me? How do I expect to get all the things that I want in my life when I can't even show up for me? So yes, I feel guilty, but it is all part of it. But also I think I'm doing a bit of a better job at that now because I'm a lot more focused and aligned. Next question is from Austin Nicholas. Brother, incredible shape. What's your diet consist of? There's a lot of questions here about diet and my body. My diet consists of mainly whole foods, but honestly, what I've been sticking to really well recently is Papa Macros. It's one of the sponsors of the podcast, and it literally makes my life so much easier because I'm getting nutritious, delicious, and convenient meals at my door every week. Like, this wasn't a planned ad, but literally it's a game changer for me because we're doing 2 episodes every week. It's like a cinema production every 3 days. It's full on. And trying to tie all that in, I'm building out this podcast course, which is extensive, which I'm just so confident it's going to be able to make people have the most insane podcast of their own. There's a lot of things happening. And when I'm trying to eat really nutritious whole foods, it takes so long to cook, and I don't have a chef. So like, it takes so long. I don't have a chef or a girlfriend, and it takes so long to cook all the meals. And so Papa Macros, literally, I've been having 3 of those meals a day alongside my breakfast and stuff. But even their corn fritters for breakfast has been so good. But I eat whole foods mainly. So I'm eating steak and rice and potatoes and pumpkin and avocado, sauerkraut, and the Papa Macros meals as well. So they've got like steak and jasmine rice. I've been having like different prawn and chicken and there's some really good meals there. So if you guys want to try out Papa Macros, go to papamacros.com.au. You've got to be in Australia, obviously, to order Papa Macros. But you can use code Chris Griffin and you'll get a lifetime discount, 10% off for life. So every order that you make, you get the discount. So definitely can't recommend them anymore. So go and give them a try. If you like, the portion sizes are great too. So to answer your question about diet, it's mainly that at the moment. I've been having a lot of Papa Macros meals. They've been great. Next question is from Kane Zarcher. An area you excel in and is very important aspect of life, personal presence / communication skills. It's not a question. I'm assuming you're asking if I think it's important, or you're maybe wanting to know how to get better at it. For me, I think this is interesting. The communication aspect, you need to want to have the conversation, I think, to be a good communicator in personal relationships. Like, as an example, like if you really want, say, if we use this in a romantic sense, you've got a partner that you're speaking to. If you love that person, you're going to want to communicate. I'm a really good communicator, but if I don't really love someone and we're trying to communicate about a relationship, I'm not really going to want to communicate to my ability, because maybe my honest thoughts isn't a very nice thing for them to hear. And so I think the communication aspect of personal life is extremely important. I just think there's a deeper question with that about like other people you're being open and honest with, the right people in your life as well. And the only reason I'm saying this, and this may have nothing to do with your question, but just a lesson I've learned recently from a relationship I had for a few months of last year and this year, is I'm a very good communicator, but I kind of avoided communication with this girl. And I think for me, the thing was I didn't want to hurt her, but maybe the reality is I needed to be a better communicator to tell her how I was feeling, but I didn't really want to because, I mean, there's a lot more nuances and complexities, but because I wasn't in love with her, maybe I just didn't want to communicate as much. And so I think communication's deep, but if you truly want something, I think you'll want to be a good communicator. The second thing, if we just remove that from there and just talk about communication as a whole, I think it's one of the most important skill sets you can possibly have. That's why I set out on such a journey to be able to communicate really well. Just being able to articulate your message in a way that people can feel, people can relate, people can understand, you can have influence, and it's probably the most valuable skill set you can have. So the way I learned that was through first initially through sales jobs. So I'd got like a lot of different sales jobs, and I improved my communication that way. And then beyond that, I started obviously starting different companies and working in sales and going into boardrooms with investors, and that increases your communication skills. But then the podcast was the ultimate game changer for me because I started listening back to myself, finding the imperfections, and then improving from there. And, you know, thousands of videos later, a whole lot of podcasts, you get a lot better at communicating. So I would say if you're not a good communicator, do everything in your power to become a good communicator. But the best teacher is your past self. Listen to yourself speak and then take notes and figure out where you can improve would be my biggest advice. Next question is from Tom Hodges. What message would you tell your future self in 10 years if you were to rewatch this podcast? I would say yes, my friend. You kept going. You got slammed on your face and you got back up time and time and time again. You got told not to do something and you still did it. You did the things that you truly wanted to do, and now you are reaping the rewards for it. You're sitting back here. You've got a loving family. You've got kids. You've got a wife, a thriving business. You can do anything you ever want in your entire life, and you have set yourself and your family and your future family up for life. And that is all because you took a punt on yourself. You said no to things that didn't serve you, and you leaned into things that did serve you. You did the things on the days that you didn't want to do them and on the days that you did want to do them. And more importantly, the days that you didn't want to do them, because it's easy to go for a run when the sun is shining, but when it's pissing down rain, no one wants to. But the reality is when it's harder to do the thing, you gain more character. And when you didn't want to do things, you went and fucking did it. And so good on you. You can smile watching this back. You can laugh. You can have a little bit of anxiety because you're going back to this moment in my life and you're realizing how chaos and how much stuff is going on, and you don't want to relive it, but you're grateful that you went through it. And for that, be proud. Be very proud. And just don't forget about where you came from. Don't forget about all of the people that helped you along the way. Don't forget about all of the things that make you tick, the things that excite you and spring you out of bed in the morning. Don't lose sight of the little things and the family and all the parts of your life that truly matter, because one day you're going to sit on your deathbed and you're going to be reflecting on your life. And I know that in the last 10 years, you've done things for you in service of others, and I know you don't want to stop doing that for the rest of your life. And I want you to get to your deathbed and go, you fucking did this, and you smashed it, and you were the boss of your own life. And a byproduct of that is you inspired tens of millions of people all around the world to be the boss of their own lives too. So good on you, Chris, future Chris in 10 years' time, my biggest inspiration. Good on you. And let's fucking go. That's what I would say. That's what I would say, baby. Let's go to the next question. D. Nassif, what books do you recommend an entrepreneur who wants to communicate better? No books, my friend. No book is going to help you communicate better. I tell you what, the way you communicate better is by talking more and listening back and learning from what you've just done. There's no book. You cannot learn communication theoretically. You need to be practical with it. You need to do it. You need to pick up that phone and cold call that person. You need to knock on that person's door. You need to record a video, look down the barrel, and then watch it back and figure out the things that you went wrong. The ums, the ahs, the filler words. Take note of how many you did. Make sure the next one's better. You need to review yourself, and your best teacher for communication is going to be your past self. So figure out a way to get as many reps as possible in and strategically watch each of those reps to make sure the next rep is better. I'm not going to recommend you a book. There's so many sales books, there's so many communication books that, will help you learn some nuances, but fundamentally doing the thing is going to teach you way more than anything else. Next question is from Natalia Priorello. Rello? How do you regain momentum when you feel like you've fallen off track with your habits? I would assess your life and see what the reason you fell off was for. Yeah, I would look at your life and go, okay, what was I doing when I wasn't off track and I had really good momentum? What were the things that I was doing? Then I would look at your life when you've fallen off track and lost your momentum and go, what are the things that I'm doing now? What you'll find is there's probably differences in that. Maybe when you had all this momentum, other opportunities got presented to you and you fell for traps, you lent into these shiny objects all the time, and then that made you lose focus a little bit. Perhaps you enjoyed something early days, which was gaining a lot of momentum, and then now you don't enjoy it as much, so being motivated to do it is less. Like, assess the way you were feeling, the way you were acting, what you had around you when you had the momentum, and then look at what you have now when you've lost it, and look at what you don't have now that you've lost it. What you'll find is you'll probably just need to decull some things and realign with the focus and the mission and get clear on what it is. And then hopefully you can build up that motivation to keep going. And then when you've got that motivation, then you can start getting the momentum in place and start building those blocks again. But it's not always going to have momentum. And that's something you need to realize. You need to go like, I need to show up on the days where there's momentum, when things are going well, when things aren't going well. I just need to show up regardless. And whatever it takes for you to do that, would be my 2 cents. Next question is from Archie_Connie11. Are you doing the Melbourne HYROX in December? It's not on the plan. I should be in America in December. So I'm going to say no. What I'm going to say is if I'm in Australia, I will. If I'm not, I won't. So, yeah, I feel like I'm not going to be. I might do the Honolulu Marathon instead, which is probably going to be on like the same week. I don't think I'm going to do Melbourne HYROX. I'm moving to America in June. So, yeah, I'll be back in Australia for December for Christmas with the fam, but I'm probably not going to be back at the start of December. It'll probably be just before Christmas, I'd say. Still figuring out that side of my life. In terms of HYROX, I'm still going to do more of them. I just don't have my next race because I'm not doing Sydney in July because I'm going to be moving to America. And then Melbourne, I can't lock in because I don't even know where I'm going to be, but probably not in Australia. So, yeah, that's where I'm at so far. Another one from Drew Korf. What will you miss the most about Australia when you move to Austin? The beaches I'll probably miss, the community that I've built and the gym that I go to. I'll probably miss that a lot. I will miss my home, my house that I'm living in and everything that's in it, my sauna and my ice bath and the whole environment that I have set up there. I absolutely love it. I'm giving all of that up to move over. So, yeah, I'm going to miss certain things, miss my family. I'm not going to be as close to my family, so I won't see mum and dad much and stuff. So all of those things are pretty big factors. But I also there's so much upside and there's so much other things I'm looking forward to. So I'm trying not to dwell on any of those things because I know there's so much other good that I'm doing as well. There's so many amazing things that I'm really excited and looking forward to. So for me, I'm just trying to focus on those things rather than dwell on the others. I'm keen to get over there though. I really am. Next question is from BJMNLB. When you went on your first solo trip, what are the things that changed your outlook? First solo trip. The first one overseas was Thailand. I was heartbroken, in debt, and that was the first overseas trip. What I learned was a couple of things. I learned how small and insignificant I really am, firstly. I had an ego death where I just didn't matter. I realized that everything I thought mattered didn't really matter. I also just realized that the world's such a big place. Like we're in bubbles. We're so often in these bubbles. At the time I was in a Bondi bubble where I didn't even leave the bloody suburb. And I just realized that there's so much for the world to offer and it's such a big place. And I also realized that there was so much opportunity for me to think and just sit in my emotions alone and think about what I truly want, feel about what I truly want, as opposed to just like getting so consumed with everything that was around me. When I was by myself, I could really think about the life I want to live, the impact I want to make, and I really cherished that. I think if I didn't have the time alone away, I wouldn't have been forced to look within because there's so many other distractions and there's so many things that I could have just distracted myself as opposed to hitting those questions face on. So my outlook just changed. I realized that the most powerful thing I could do was have solitude and think and feel. I keep saying think, but it's more so feel. Like feeling what I truly want and then letting my thoughts come from the back of that. So yeah, that's what changed for me. Next question is from Christopher Loazafit. How to deal with the difficulty of finding mutual commitment in relationships. Commitment in itself is an interesting topic because if you truly love someone, you will be committed. I think it's so circumstantial. I think people will think that they don't. They think they have commitment issues, but maybe it's just the fact that the person that they're trying to commit to or the thing they're trying to commit to is not the one for you. Like at times when I feel like I'm loving someone or someone is rubbing off on me the right way, I commit to it. But at times when I'm not feeling that way, it's harder for me to commit. So I think we need to go a little step deeper and just go, what is the reason that the commitment's not mutual? If someone's not being committed to you, it might be that they are not sold on you fully. So why are they not sold? Maybe that's a question that we need to ask. Like, what are the things that are giving you hesitation about committing to me? You'll find most of the time they'll always put it back on themselves because they don't want confrontation. I would do the same thing. But I think we are so naive to what's actually going on in a lot of relationships. We just seem to think that what they say is gospel. And for the most part, what most people say is just a cover-up or a cop-out because they either don't know how they're truly feeling and they don't know how to articulate it, or they don't want to hurt your feelings, so they'll cover up with something. Like when someone says, like, work's just so busy and I can't give you the time that you deserve, that's a cop-out. If they were the one, they would make it work. If they truly were sold on you, they would make it work. And look, I'm not saying that like you're an idiot for doing that and saying like, oh, I'm just so busy with work and I can't give you the thing, because I've fucking done it too. I've been there. And honestly, I think there's a lot of emotion that goes into play. There's a lot of like different politics in a relationship that can cause the commitments to be different. But honestly, sometimes we are so naive. We're like, oh yeah, she's just so busy or he's just so busy. That's why it doesn't work. But nah, if you guys were the right one, you would be committed to each other. You would be loving to each other. You'd be open and honest, and you'd be a really good communicator. Most of the time, you've gone into something, it's gotten quite deep, and then the reality is you're probably not the best fit and you're not life partners, but the conversation is a hard one to have and people don't want to have it. So they fluff their way out of it and they retract, they avoid, they have commitment problems, all of these things. And we've all been there. Let's not beat around the bush. I think things are so sugar-coated nowadays and there's always a reason as to why, but I think fundamentally things just aren't right between you two, whoever this example is, mutual commitment in a relationship. Maybe there's things that need to be solved deep down from past traumas or different things that are making the relationship hard to work. But the reality is one party's just not sold on the other. That's my thoughts, my 2 cents. But let's go to the next question. This one is from Jaden Ransley. Thoughts on alcohol? Well, my thoughts on alcohol are interesting. Firstly, it's toxic. It's not good for you at all. Is it fun? Yes. But it's only fun if you don't have too much to do the next day. When you're trying to achieve greatness and you have so much to do, the hangover is 10 times worse. Most of the hangover that you feel is mental. It's not physical. Because if you have something to do the next day and say you've got to catch a flight and you're hungover, you can get up and catch that flight, you're fine. But like if you're in business and you're your own boss and you've got a massive list of to-dos and you wake up and you're hungover, you feel shit for going out the night before, you've probably done stuff you're not proud of, and then you've got a list of to-dos and you've got to be your own motivation, but you've got a headache. Like the hangover is anxiety and it's way worse. And for me, I'm in a phase of my life where I'm not drinking at all. And the choice behind that is because the amount of anxiety and hangover it brings is way too horrible for having a little bit of fun on the night. And look, we can't lie and beat around the bush. A night out is way more fun when you're drinking alcohol than when you're not. Because if everyone else is drinking, you're an odd one out without drinking, and it's very hard to be at their level. In fact, you're not at their level. And it's nowhere near as enjoyable. So we can't lie and say it's more fun to not drink, but we need to just zoom out a little bit and go like, okay, from a week standpoint, not just for 4 hours at night, from a week standpoint, how do I feel? And the alcohol is far worse than having it. So I'm not against alcohol. Fuck it. Have a bit of fun. But I do not think that it's good for me, and I do not think it's good for someone that's on the grind. If you are in your grind phase and you're hustling and you tell me that you still drink, I kind of think you're taking the piss a little bit, to be completely honest. If you're really hustling and you truly want it, but you're still drinking, like I can't take you that seriously. Because I know fundamentally the difference between how I feel when I'm drinking and when I'm not drinking is night and day. And the productivity when I'm not drinking is far higher than when I'm drinking. So when you come to me and you say that you're hustling, but you still get on the beers on a Saturday night, you're not hustling. you're a bit confused. That's my thoughts on that. However, if I just sold a company for $50 million and I was chilling, I could drink on a Wednesday, a Thursday night and have wine, bougie lunches and I won't even have much of a hangover the next morning because I'm chilling. I don't have to worry about anything. So phases of life, I'm not quitting alcohol for life, but I in this phase of life, I'm not drinking really at all. I might have I had one beer after my HYROX competition, but other than that, I don't drink. We're going to answer one or two more. This next one is from Abdul Rahman. How you are able to become jacked while growing your brand. Well, the fortunate thing about me is my brand evolves around my health as well. So when I look more jacked, my brand excels more. So there's an incentive for me to stay in good shape. But another thing is I don't think we should neglect our health in pursuit of our goals if our goals aren't health oriented. I think health and being fit and healthy is a must-have and it's a requirement. I can't take anyone seriously that isn't healthy and fit because they haven't got their priorities straight. Now, I'm not saying you need to have a jacked six-pack or a massive bum if you're a girl. I'm not saying this is what the expectation is, but a good level of health is an expectation, I think, for me to truly take you seriously. And that's just the reality. How can you, I think you need to be fit and show up and present fit for me to understand that your priorities are straight and in check. So with all of that said, building brand or not, I made sure that I was staying fit and healthy. So you just make it work. You go, fuck, I'm just going to train. And I'm going to be more strategic with my training. If I don't have as many hours in the day to train because I'm trying to build, maybe I try and do more effective training, and maybe I'd try and watch my diet more. I think the thing is about this is if you truly look at your days, I reckon you can find an hour a day to get the body moving. Think about how much time you fucking waste. Try and find efficiencies. If you can afford it, get proper macros and things like this so you're saving time cooking, or all the Netflix time where you're winding down, maybe you train instead, or you get up an hour earlier. Maybe you're sleeping excessively too much. All of these things I would assess, and I reckon you'd be able to find you got an hour a day in you to look after your health and prioritize that. This one is interesting. Corey_Tompkins. Do you believe that we all have the same 24 hours in a day? Would people with kids agree? Well, fundamentally, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And fundamentally, we choose how we spend all 24 hours in a day. Whether you have kids, whether you're fit, whether you're unfit, whether you have a 9-to-5 job, whether you have your own business, whether you work in the business, whether you work on the business. You choose how you spend all your 24 hours of the day. And I will fight to the end of the world against that, with that, because you have kids, you chose to have kids. If you didn't plan on having kids, you still didn't wear a condom. So you chose to have kids. So the thing is yes, we have to make do with the circumstances we have. Now, I've spoken to fathers and they say that if you want to make real money, have kids because you'll never work harder in your life. When you have kids, it's more of a reason to succeed in business and succeed in all the things outside of your family. So if you're not driven enough to work and make your success happen outside of having the family because you've already got some kids or something, then you need to dig deeper and figure out what the why is. Because if you can find a deep reason to succeed, you will figure out how to make it work. Whether that's expanding your resources, so hiring people. If you can't afford that, then it's working a bit extra so you can eventually afford that. Another thing to point on this is I don't think that parenting and how good you are as a parent. Now, I'm saying this as a naive 23-year-old that doesn't have kids, but I don't believe that the amount of time you spend with your kids determines the amount of impact you have on your kids. I'll give you a prime example. You might say to someone that's hustling in business that they're not spending enough time with their kids. And then you might compare it to a lazy dad that works a 9 to 5, but outside of that 9 to 5, he's at home with his kids the whole time, but he's drinking beer on the couch, watching movies. He's spending way more time with his kids, but is the successful business person that's spending maybe half the amount of time with his kids, but teaching him lessons on how to become better men, better women, and instilling values in them that will set them up for success in a short amount of time, but more impactful time. Who do you think is going to build better kids? I'll leave that with you guys to ponder on. But all I'm saying is, just because you have kids, it doesn't mean that your days are filled. I would be really stripping back what your role as a parent is, and how do you make the most out of your days. And if you're not driven enough, then you just need to find a deeper why. But yes, I do believe that everyone has the same 24 hours of the day, and your environment is because of you, and you need to take ownership on that, because even if something was another person's fault, there is no point pointing fingers, because you're going to be stuck in the exact same place. We need to take ownership on everything we have in our life and play the cards that we've been dealt. This is the final question of today. It is from X Recruiter. That's Declan from X Recruiter. How long did it take to get in the best shape of your life? This doesn't actually really matter, because you can get in the best shape of your life pretty damn quickly. The problem is can you stay in the best shape of your life all year round? That's the thing that I'm attracted to. I'm not attracted in someone that can get the six-pack. I'm attracted in the person that can keep the six-pack, because it's a lot harder to keep it than to get it, because you can get it through a diet. You can't keep it through a diet. You keep it through a habit and a lifestyle. And so for me, it's figuring out, how do I transition my identity to a healthy person that trains the body and looks after the soul and feeds it with the right fuel. And when I identify as that person, I then can become that as a byproduct. So for me, I'm not even going to answer how long it took. I'm going to say, let's form habits in our life that set us up for this. And so, yeah, I think that you can get in the best shape of your life depending on how you look currently, but in 3 months you could look astronomically better. But I think you should zoom out a little bit and go, this is going to be a lifestyle now. I'm going to develop a loving for living this way. And when you love to live the way, you can actually start to have that body and have that dream physique all year round. And that's why I look very similar all year round, because it's not a diet. I've not changed anything in my routine. I live it and I love it and I don't want to change it. And that's why it works. I would just say to find a routine that's going to get you in a better shape, have a conscious effort of improving that shape, and then stick to it over a prolonged period of time. And not only will you get the body, but you'll be able to keep it and enjoy the process as well. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this little Q&A podcast. I certainly did, and I'm just grateful for all of you guys tuning in. As I said at the start of the podcast, if you can leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, it will mean the world, because it really does go a lot longer than you think. It goes a long way. So I'm grateful for you all. Screenshot this and post it on your story to let me know that you've made it to the end. I want to personally send you a message and just thank you and appreciate you for tuning into these episodes. Also, just send a message with any guests you guys want to have on the show, because we're shooting for the stars and we're going for big guests. So that'd be awesome too. It's always good to know who you guys want to hear. And any other questions, just drop a comment down below, or also send me a DM and I'll see if I can answer them for you. But thank you guys so much. I'm going to sign out for this episode, but I will see you very, very soon in the next one. See you guys.